Ladies and gentlemen, you guys asked for it. I considered not doing it, but I just kept getting so many messages. Just please, please bring back schizo-based bra rants on YouTube. So today is going to be a bit of a rant. It's going to be an update, life update. And first and foremost, I got a microphone. I got it working 2 seconds ago. Hopefully you guys can hear me well. I don't know if I'm holding it. I'm on a ranch. Super dope. In the sun. I'm not going to show you my feet, but I am barefoot. And this is just going to be a bit of an update. So this was a wild summer for me. I quit my job about 3 weeks ago, and it has been really interesting. And for those of you that don't know me, which is most everyone on planet Earth, I was working for a technology company in oil and gas for about 2 years. Super aligned. I love nature. I want to preserve nature. I want to conserve nature. I want to help people lift them out of poverty. And I don't want to have the climate agenda be anti-human, anti-impact, that kind of thing. It's very true to my heart. But I had to make the call to go all in on myself, on my brand, on my coaching. It just seemed like the universe kept sending me things that was like, here's another one. Here's an amazing client. Here's an amazing client. Here's something that you didn't know about yourself that actually you really love about yourself. And it was this intense, very, very intense period of learning and self-exploration. I had hired 2 coaches for the past 2 years, just going all in on myself. Like, most of my money was not going to savings. It was going to coaching. And it was the best investment I've ever made in my entire life. I've never regretted that for an instant. I learned so much about myself. I'm deepened the connection with myself, and I got to the place where I had the courage, the strength, and the conviction to say no to this company. There's a lot of promise behind this company. There was a lot of, potential profit, whatever. Like, there was a lot of incentives to stay with it, but I just had to get really, really real with myself. And today I'll outline how I did that, how I got to a place where I was super intuitive, convicted, confident in the decisions I was making, and also just had the courage to risk it all on myself. So we'll get into that. I'm going stream of consciousness here. For any of those that are still listening, you're a real one. And I suppose I'll bring this back. Like, I had everything pointing me in the direction of this company. Stay in the company, keep waiting it out, keep having faith. I just kept doubling down, doubling down, doubling down. Okay, I think this government regulation is going to come through and we're going to be good. I think that the IRA is going to be helpful. We're going to be positioned in the perfect place, blah, 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 blah. And what I had to do was start seeing business not through material 3D. I had to start seeing business through energy. I had to start seeing business through 4D and disassociate myself from Nick and start to get really real with just like, how does it make me feel doing this work versus doing coaching versus writing versus creating? How does it feel? And am I getting energy from these things? Am I getting energy from these problems? Because there are always problems. I mean, in the 3 weeks since I've gone all in on coaching, it's like, oh, I just stepped into a room that was completely on fire. And that was because I was putting maybe 20% of my energy into it over the past year. So I got it to the point where I built this little boat and I could jump off the other one. But then I got on this little dinghy. I'm like, fuck, I'm literally on a dinghy in the middle of the ocean. And I need to make this happen. And that required me just to make that decision. And then ongoing now, it's like, wow, okay, so stress is coming. Stress is triggering me and pinpointing inside of me where I'm not free. And ultimately the stress is all internal and the problems are always going to be there. There are always going to be problems, but you do have a degree of control over what problems you decide to solve or try to solve. And I thought that that was the oil and gas industry. And it still is to an extent. Like, one day I'll come back and I'll shake things up. But for now, at this point in my life, I didn't want to solve that problem. And I had to get really real with myself. And that required a lot of meditation, but I'll go even a step further. For people that are looking to get intuitive, to get in touch with their intuition, I'm going to need to step back so you can see my hands. Intuition lies in boredom. And boredom is scarce. I mean, I'm looking at the main culprit right now, my phone. Like, you fuck me, dude. You really, the thing about flow, the thing about intuition, peak performance, it's literally impossible if you have your notifications on. It's literally impossible. Like, if you have notifications on, you're screwed. You are just gouging productivity, learning, adaptability, intuition, presence. Like, just, you could meditate, you could do everything right. But if you have notifications on, you're fucked. And I had to get really real with myself about that and get an app. And like, literally, I paid an app $100 this year. Just lock me out of my apps. Just lock me out. Because I don't want my monkey brain to even get in a little and be able to have a say. I'm out. From 5 to 10:30, I'm locked out, and then I have a 30-minute window. I go in and post memes, post whatever, and then from 11 to 5, I'm locked. And this has been a game changer for me. Mega, mega game changer for me. And also the realization that, that, wow, I'm just gonna, we're gonna have problems. You're a 4D spiritual being, but you've come down into this world, whatever you believe. I believe that I've come down into this world because you got to make change in the material. You can't make change necessarily in the spiritual, in the 4D, but in the 3D, and this is maybe going way off the rails for you guys, but this is how I sort of like had to think about it. Was I detached from Nick, detached from actually this mission that I had. I thought, a mission is a really, really good thing. And it is a really good thing, but it can also be a trap. And I got so specific about who I was, my values, my value hierarchy, my principles, and then my mission. I made it subconsciously coded in. I was like, this is my mission: oil and gas, conservation, climate. Like, I am tree hugger of the highest order. That's me. That's my mission. That's who I am. And I identified with this mission that I assigned myself when I was 23, and I sort of erroneously signed. It's one thing to chase after like what you think is the right thing to do versus like what's the base core virtue? What's the base thing that you're aiming for? So you want to be good, you want to be empathetic, you want to be kind, you want to be optimistic, you want to be impactful, positive, inspiring, heroic. But then if you slap on, I'm going to be heroic in this specific way in my life, in this specific industry in my life, then you can potentially throw yourself a loop, not necessarily out of alignment, but into a position where you see less options, you see less choices, and suddenly if that industry, if that path that you assigned yourself doesn't pan out, it can feel like a death sentence. So there has to be a degree of flexibility, I believe, in the mission that we all have. We can't get so consumed with the outcome and exactly how we're going to get there. I wrote down in Polaris, my book, exactly what my mission statement was. And when you have that North Star, Polaris, it's real easy to see what's in alignment, what's not in alignment. I'm getting eaten by mosquitoes out here, so I apologize, but it's always moving in the sky. That's the thing. The North Star moves in the sky. And you have to be strict and stringent and disciplined and devoted to your North Star, devoted to your mission. But that mission should really be more of like, what is the true core godly virtue, godly characteristic and trait that I'm aiming for here? And can I embody that on a second by second basis, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what life throws at me, no matter what opportunities potentially throw me into a new arena? Can I embody those base virtues regardless and hold myself to those values? And at a certain point, I was working for this oil and gas company, and I had to hold myself to a certain degree of my own values that took a lot of courage and had to meet. That was my edge. Your edge is the thing in your life that you're not meeting with courage. It's the fear that you're just not meeting, and you need to meet that head on. You need to live right on that edge, because if you don't live on that edge, and that edge is going to be painful, then that edge is going to cut you, and it's going to be even more painful. So the edge for me was just courage to jump ship. And it had been in the back of my mind for a long time, but I hadn't yet wrapped my head around it completely, where I had enough conviction, because I was so scared. I was like, oh, if I leave this company, then next week they're going to raise the $10 million. If I leave this company, then XYZ shares are going to be worth XYZ, and suddenly I'm no longer in tech and coaching. They're mutually exclusive, kind of, at least at this point in my life, because I'm a 27-year-old and people don't take me seriously. But I had to realize that all of those were just conditions and limiting beliefs that I had let into the gates of my subconscious, because I had let the world tell me who I was and put me in a box. And I realized after investigating that shit that it was bullshit and false. And that actually it could be a more expedient path for me to make a huge impact with technology, to jump ship, go off on my own, give it up to God, give it up to the universe, and allow for a large degree of uncertainty and fear to just reside in my body, and be okay with it and just accept it. Be like, this is better for me to impose this edge on myself than to get cut, to stay at a company that's not completely in alignment, to stay at a company that's not increasing my vibration or increasing my energy. Even though I cared so much about everyone who was on the team, I cared so much about the mission, I had to realize that perhaps that's perhaps this is the exact test that I needed in my life. And this, if I don't learn this lesson right now and really hear my intuition and what I truly want to do, then this lesson is going to play out again in my life, perhaps in a future girlfriend, a future friend, another business, a sport, whatever. If I don't really hone in on this lesson and what I'm being instructed to do in my soul, when I get really, really confident, when I get really clear, when I get really, really clear that this is the voice, and the voice says, go do your own thing, I have to listen to that voice. And for a lot of us, and for me included, that voice is, it's really hard to trust. But God loves courage. And if you're having a lot of doubts, it's better to just not resist those doubts and accept them. And then that gives you some space to give those thoughts, to give your reality a proper look, a real rational, intertwined with emotional look, as objective as you possibly can at your life, and be like, okay, what's the next move on the chessboard for me? Because I could stay stuck here. I could keep twiddling my thumbs. I could keep on this trajectory where I'm kind of always going to have a boss. I'm always going to be under the thumb of someone. I am also, to a certain degree, I'm a material man. I'm a man of the material world, as we all are. Or if you're a woman listening, which would be shocking, DM me. But if you're a man of the material world, you have to play the game. You got to play the game. And we can play the game on our own terms, or we can play the game on other people's terms. If you don't have a routine, if you don't have an agenda, if you don't have a mission statement, if you don't have your values coded into your psyche and your physiology on a deep level, it's really easy to let society point fingers at you and trigger you. It's real easy for anyone in any circumstance to say something, and then you get reactive to it. You have an emotional reaction and you are no longer in control. How do you flip that on its head? For me, it was going out, it was investing in these coaches, it was meditating 30 plus minutes every day, it was taking care of myself and just really focusing in on work only and nothing else. And when I was doing that, I went through a lot of last time I was here on the ranch, I ran 34 miles. That was something that showed me who the fuck I was, not the world. I spent 3 days in the woods, no food, meditated for 4 plus hours, broke it with psilocybin, did a really intense breath work. That's not medical advice, but I can guide you through one. And I got rid of a demon. I got really real with myself. I had to end it with a girl that had nothing wrong with her whatsoever. Incredible girl. I had to put a real hard line in the sand and be like, my intuition's just saying no, and I have to listen. If I don't, it's not going to work. I know it's not going to work. And that's what I had to do with this company. And I'm really, really happy that I did, because I ended it, and now I am the singular man in the arena. I have my back against the wall. I am the one who makes it happen. I would rather live my life taking full, absolute responsibility for each and every one of my actions and outcomes than to be in a state where there's more of this potential to have a victim mindset. There's more potential to point fingers upwards, up the hierarchical chain of a company, and be like, oh, well, they laid me off. Or, oh, well, if they hadn't made that strategic decision, then we wouldn't be here as a company. Versus me taking a real hard look at yourself, at myself, yourself, and being like, I'm at where I'm at because of me solely. And if I take absolute utmost responsibility for every single thought, emotion, position, salary, whatever it is, then that gives me power, because I take responsibility. I accumulate my consciousness on my reality and get really, really present through the meditation, through reticular activating system alarms on my phone that go off 4 times a day and ask me questions like, what are you most grateful for? What were you thinking about just now? Where's the tension in your body? Retraining the reticular activating system to look on the bright side of things, why I'm so grateful for all that I do have, why I am rich, why I am wealthy, why I am healthy. There's so many reasons we can all look around and be like, wow, I'm so blessed. And to be a vibrational match then for our future reality is so powerful. Being a vibrational match for your future reality is probably one of the highest leverage things you can do. But it requires you to gain space from this 3D material world and actually connect with the deeper part of yourself, the deeper truth of yourself, which is inner peace, harmony, abundance, love, bliss, joy. All of that is a default state for everyone. We just have these conditions put on us, these lines of code that were written by our parents or society or whatever, and that fucks us up and it throws us out of alignment and it makes us think all day long, and we get stuck in our over analytical brain instead of getting into our body, into our heart, which allows us to navigate the world in a much more empowered way, centered way. You're collected. And if you lose your center from a thought or a post online or someone said something or you don't know what to do about this situation, the best thing you can do is accumulate your consciousness again, relax the tension, and get into a place where it's like, all right, well, what's really real and what's my body trying to tell me right now? And if I listen to that, then I have absolute faith that I will end up on the path. On the path of alignment, I will be walking with God. If I allow fear, if I allow my primal body, my material 3D body, to run my life, to dictate my decisions, then I'm going to live in a survival paradigm. I'm going to live in a primal paradigm. I'm going to be disconnected from the field, because when you're in survival state, your options, stress, all these things come down to tunnel vision, and you're not able to see the other options. But if you're tapped in, if you're present, if you're relaxed in your body, if you're meditating and you're accumulating consciousness, you can be part of the field where we get ideas from, where we get instructions from, where we get thoughts from as well. But we can then be more confident in our decision making, and we can connect with the truth of who we are and make a decision from that place. Oftentimes we only have two decisions, or so we think. We think that there's a safe decision, which was like staying at my old company, or an inspiring decision, which was going off on my own. Now that inspiring decision usually comes with it a fuckload of fear. That's okay. There's never not going to be fear in these decisions. You are a material man. You are primal. You are in a survival paradigm in a way. You live on planet Earth. There's a lot of spiritual people that are broke, but there's 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 one path that can be combined. You can combine this 3D and 4D through living through the 4D even more. You live through the 4D in a mental state, but you live the 4D through being in your body. You have to use the body as a bridge to the 4D. If you're in the 3D, you're going to get caught up in your brain. You're going to be over logical. You're going to be thinking all day, what do I do about this? This person said that. Whatever. If you get out of your mind and into your body, that is a bridge to the 4D. That is a bridge to presence, intuition, power. That's the bridge. You have this body consciousness, and this body consciousness is running your fucking life because it's scared. Their nervous system's trained to seek comfort and avoid discomfort, whatever that may be. That avoiding of discomfort could be from someone that just said something about you. Now your nervous system's uncomfortable and it wants to fight or flight. If you can train your nervous system to be safe within this material world, to be courageous, to be believing, to have faith, to be unshakable, because you went in and triggered yourself so many times that nothing else can shake you, then you are living in your power in the body consciousness, and that is just a trampoline to the 4D where you can tap into, okay, how do I really want to say this to my boss? How do I really want to write this post online? How do I really want to come off? How am I going to tap into authenticity? How do I tap into authenticity? Because the authentic expression of yourself is where all your power lies. We become inauthentic when we try to conform in society. We try to conform to a certain situation, and it's hard. You've got a boss, you've got your girlfriend's friends or whatever the fuck, and you're gonna like act a certain way. But that's lying to yourself. That's nice guy syndrome. You being a nice guy and not speaking your truth is cutting yourself. That's your edge, cutting yourself. That's why when someone says something shitty to you and you just kind of brush it off like, oh, yeah, totally, like, yeah, blue light glasses are super gay, like, whatever, uh, you're lying to yourself. You're ultimately cutting yourself. And they're projecting on you because their stress is internal as well. Stress is an internal thing. Stress is an inside out thing. But it comes out of us when we get triggered by the world. If you can find your center in those moments, you can find your center in those periods of your life where you have a big decision to make, and you get your body into the most physically, mentally empowered, confident, believing state, that's going to provide a better outcome, in my opinion, than if you were to live in the shadow of doubt, in the shadow of your fears, and you're afraid ultimately of living in the shadow of your potential. But getting your body to this powerful state, present state, your consciousness is accumulated. You are meditating every single morning. You're doing breath work every single day. You're working out. You're taking care of your body. You're being very healthy, but then you're also clearing your mental inbox from the inputs from your phone, from what the other people or things in the world are trying to tell you about yourself. And you just become like Fort Knox. You're like, no, I know exactly who the fuck I am. I know what I want. I know I believe in myself. I know there's no way that I'm not successful. I know that my ultimate underlying truth is abundance, health, wealth, strength, power, inner peace, bliss, presence, love. That's the truth. Let me unfold the layers and get to that truth where I'm no longer primal paradigm, I'm power paradigm. And from that place, make your biggest decisions. For me, it was working less for about 2 weeks. I had to work less and start to really take care of myself and hone in on myself. I was going on 100-mile bike rides because I just needed to clear my inbox. I needed to move my body. I needed to get into my body for extended periods of time and let these things settle within me and assess them from a place where I'm exhausted. My physical body, it's like, well, we just did 100 miles on the bike, so I feel pretty good about this decision either way, whatever we decide. Like, it can't be much worse than that, even though it could be. But the empowered state and a breath work that can be really helpful for you to do this in any one moment is you breathe into your stomach and then you breathe out, and then you breathe into your stomach and your lungs, your chest, okay, and then you exhale, and then you breathe into your stomach, chest, and then head, and you will hold your breath and you will envision your highest self, your highest vision in 20, 50 years? What does your day look like? What are you doing? This vision can be your North Star, even in that one moment. And you can begin to see this vision, smell this vision, taste this vision. What does it really feel like to be here in this empowered, confident, abundant, convicted state? And you can reverse engineer it from there. Okay, if that's the goal that I just had, that vision, let me come back into my body right here, right now. When I ask myself, what would my most empowered, faithful, strong, and loving self do about this decision? And then shut the fuck up and let your intuition speak. And it may not be words, it might be a color, but there will be a pull, there will be a magnetic pull towards one path. Deep in your soul, you'll know the right decision. Now, you may have to exercise some tactical patience if it's like a job and you're about to get a raise, or it's a girlfriend and you're not really sure. You got to figure out something else about the situation before you make a call. But if you've kind of vetted everything out and you do those things, you do that breath work, and you hold your breath and you hold that highest vision in your mind, and you ask yourself, what would my most empowered, strong, believing, and loving self do in this situation? You'll feel that pull. Life works. This was one of my coach's sayings. Super powerful guy, Alan Howard. Life happens in feathers, bricks, and Mack trucks. So when you're living your life, there might still be this feather kind of pushing you. Oh, go that way. Oh, take that job. Oh, break up with that girl. And it's a feather, and it's light, and you got to be very receptive to it. And that requires boredom and getting calm and clearing your mental inbox and all these things that we're talking about, meditating. But then if you ignore this feather for long enough, perhaps you get hit with a brick. Perhaps you're still out drinking late at night and you get punched in the face. Okay, that's a brick. I'm still not in alignment, and this is showing me that I'm not in alignment and that I need to reckon with myself, like, where am I at? What do I need to do? And if you ignore that brick, then maybe you're out drinking again and you go out into the road and you get hit by a truck and you're in the hospital. It's like, wow. And that's not to say that every single bad thing in your life is like up for interpretation of like alignment or not. But you'll know. If you did something and it was out of alignment, you'll know. And you'll know the degree too, and that can be a signifier to you of like, where am I at? Where do I need to change? Maybe I do really need to connect with myself, do some self-exploration, do some shadow work, do some breath work, do some meditation, and get real with myself about what the fuck I want in life and who the fuck I am, what I'm really capable of, and what it would mean if I was, what would my 100-year-old version say to me? He's on his deathbed right now. I walk into his room. Me, 102 years old, ready to die, had an incredible life, like, know that it's coming soon, but I feel grounded, I feel powerful, I don't feel any regrets, I know exactly what I want, and I know death is coming. And then me, 27-year-old version, walks into the room like, hey, Grandpa, what the fuck do I do about this situation? He is going to give you an answer. Your 102-year-old self is going to give you an answer. This is another lesson from another one of my coaches, Lee St. John, who is a wizard. The closer you live to death, the more authentic you're going to live. Like, we're okay waiting for the raise because we think we're going to live another 80 years, which you might if you have immaculate health protocols and ground like I do, or you might not. But we have this paradigm in our minds like, oh, we're going to live forever and I don't care, and if I die, I die, and whatever. But like, then we just suffer and our edge cuts us. Versus we get really fucking real with ourselves and really, really understand that we are gonna die and it could happen any day. I don't want to waste a single minute. I don't want to waste a single second. I don't want to be out of alignment. I don't want to be doing something that isn't true. I don't want to be doing something that is ultimately slowing me down and making me feel restricted and making me feel like I'm not free, I'm not secure, I'm not safe, I'm not able to bring my gifts into the world. I'm limited. If that's the place you're in, then take a take a weekend and go out into the woods, no phone, and with the goal of being bored. Brain dump into a journal, do really long meditations, drink some sparkling water, fast, and try to remain as bored as possible. Like, don't go on some crazy hike. Like, literally sit at the campsite or go for a little hike and then just, I'm here all day, all 3 days, 2 days. Let me just get really, really connected with this voice inside of myself, because the first day you're going to have all these crazy thoughts and blah, 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 and you're going to have to brain dump. You brain dump it all down. But then after that, you'll wake up the next day and you're like, whoa, the voice in my head's really, really loud, but there's a more grounded sense to the voice right now. It feels more like, okay, taking a breather right now. Let me really assess like what just happened the past year, what just happened the past 3 months, what's happening right now in my life, and where I want to go, and let me just get really clear about those things and that vision and what I really want and how I'm going to tactically, strategically do it. Because it's one thing to attract, be a vibrational match for abundance. It is not very effective if you don't follow that up with extreme hardcore action. You want to be strategic, you want to be logical, you want to use your brain, you want to use the gifts that you have. You don't want to just sit there and kind of wait for things to happen. You want to balance this line of surrender and then real override decisions. I could have surrendered to that company for longer, but I knew in my heart that that wasn't the right call. And for me to stay longer would just continue to cause this subtle dis-ease every single day and keep me context switching and keep me feeling desperate, feeling unsure, feeling like there's more to me, that I want to be doing more in my life, I'm getting old, blah, 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 all these thoughts that we all have all day long that most of us aren't aware of. 75% of your thoughts every single day relatively are negative. I mean, maybe not you, but that was a study that they did that I think it was Harvard. Fact check me, I don't give a fuck. And when those thoughts dissipate, day 2 in the woods, you'll probably have like 20-30% of those thoughts, maybe more, but you're in a place, you're in a more receptive place of awareness where you can pick up on, oh, that's an interesting thought. That's not fucking real. That's not right. Or, oh, that's an interesting point. That's a good point. Maybe I need to think about it consciously and skillfully and get to a conclusion where it's like, okay, I feel good about this. And journaling is really powerful for thinking. There's a big difference between thinking and thoughts. Thoughts are those automatic, erroneous, negative, redundant thoughts that come in all day long, really because our nervous system's a little out of whack and the world's really chaotic. But you can control your thoughts to a certain degree. It takes training, and it takes really the ability to congruently train positive thinking while you release and relax out of negative thinking. And you do that through releasing tension in the body, mental overrides like a smile. After you have a thought like, Nick, you're such a piece of shit. Like, why the fuck would anyone ever listen to your YouTube ever? I'll just smile. I'll just smile and relax out of it. Mental override. Your body is always telling your mind what reality is, and your mind is trying to tell your body what the reality is too. So if they can work together, you get brain-heart coherence, suddenly you're moving in the right direction, and it's a really powerful thing. The other side is thinking. There's thoughts then, positive and negative thoughts. Then there's thinking, and thinking is just, you use the 2 superpowers of your consciousness, also credit to Lee St. John because he's a wizard, intention and attention. Intention is going to be, what's the goal? What's the purpose of my journaling session here? What's the purpose of me going on a walk for 10 minutes and thinking only about the one thing? Okay, I'm going to really assess like how much I've been using my phone lately on this walk. Okay, there's your intention. And then your attention, your other superpower of your consciousness, is fixed on that subject. Phone usage. Okay, I'm on a walk. These practices, this is all what I attribute to me being convicted in my decision to leave that company. I got to the point where I was able to release out of thoughts that were not true and not useful to a great degree. I was able to start cultivating positive thoughts that were reinforcing. I started to see the world in a brighter place. I started to really be grateful and know that I was becoming more of a vibrational match for the future that I desired. And I got really quiet. I let my intuition come together and really start to feel the intuition and associate reference points. Okay, I broke up with that girl, that's a reference point on intuition. I made this business call, that's a reference point on that, on my intuition. I started to create a graph of my intuitive calls in life, and then it was all coming to this one intuitive call that I had to make, and I was like, all right, I'm ready. I've spent enough 100-mile bike rides thinking about this. I've spent enough times meditating, relaxing out of thoughts that were not useful. I've journaled, I've fasted, I've I've gotten really real with who I am, what I want to bring into the world, what I stand for. Now all that there is left to do is meet it with courage. And even that took a week for me to like get the courage to like call up the boss and be like, "Yo, this isn't I gotta go. I'm out. Sorry." That took a ton of courage, and it took a ton of courage after the fact to then look at like, okay, here's the dinghy that we have, and the universe is always going to try to test your resolve. In that week where I was trying to get the courage to go to my boss and be like, "No, I'm out," I would have so many thoughts of like, well, what if this happens? What if we get 10 million? What if that happens? What if this happens? Are you sure you're making the right decision? I don't think you're making the right decision. All these thoughts, and they're trying to trick me. And I knew it was the universe testing my fucking resolve. Like being like, do you really want this? Are you sure you really want this? And I was like, yes, I do really want this. And I went in and I made it happen. And then I also was able to carry that momentum into this new endeavor of just full-time coaching with full commitment, full conviction. Like, okay, this is where we're at. We've got this many clients. They're all dogs. Let me go find some more people that I am aligned with. Let me go work on myself to a greater degree, because ultimately I get paid for my frequency. I get paid for the things that I've learned and my experiences, but also just my presence. And when I'm with someone, I'm talking to them. Like right now, I don't even know the next word that's going to be coming out of my mouth, and just as present as I can possibly be. And that has now allowed me all that momentum. I come into this new situation like, okay, there's anxiety here, there's stress, there's expectations, there's things I want to capitalize on, but I'm in such a grounded place in my body and in my mind. I know I'm a vibrational match for the future that I'm working towards. And I'm not just trying to like, I'm not saying I'm gonna have this. I'm saying I have this. It's not enough to be believing that you can do it. It's not enough to believe you can get that future. It has to be that you already have the future now, so you become a vibrational match for your desires. So, if you've made it this far, thank you very much. Can't believe it. You're a real one. And I'm going to keep doing these rants. I hope the mic worked. And come back for more. I'll be posting these erratically, and appreciate you. Cheers, everyone.